Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all over the world, let's talk some boxing. This is Floyd Mayweather, TBE, the final round, round 12. So after Mayweather fought Manny Pacquiao, this is what came out in the media. Floyd Mayweather Jr. goes with money over TBE. Why Mayweather is not the best ever. Floyd Mayweather Jr. saying he's the greatest ever is debatable. TBE or not TBE, you will miss Mayweather when he's gone. TBE, Mayweather is just TBOHE, the best of his era. Floyd Mayweather TBE, the best ever. Floyd Mayweather may believe his hype, but history will never agree. Floyd Mayweather, Ali called himself the greatest, but I call myself TBE, the best ever. Floyd Mayweather's TBE claim rankles many, but count him among boxing's historic greats. Mayweather may call himself the best ever, but he doesn't even make my top 10 boxers of all time. Is Floyd Mayweather TBE or TRE, the best ever or the richest ever? Now let's just stop right there. First and foremost, this guy, he says he's the best ever, but he doesn't make my top 10 boxers of all time. First of all, this guy, he's not talking in terms of facts. He's talking in terms of sentiment. So he's thinking that the best ever, like many of these articles that detract against Floyd Mayweather, has to do with being the greatest ever. But that's not what Floyd Mayweather is talking about. So this guy, he says, when as a boy my father smuggled me into Earl's Court for his first fight, that is Robinson, against Randy Turpin. Robinson lost, but I was in awe at the time that the more I saw of him, the more I appreciated his all-round supremacy. If he lost that fight, it means that his defense wasn't that great, and he had holes, and therefore that very point you're making, why you like Sugar Ray Robinson, which is a point to which Floyd shows he's better than him, because Floyd would win whatever fights he faced, whereas Sugar Ray Robinson lost this fight he faced. And it's not so much that Sugar Ray Robinson lost the fight, as it is the fact that he had defensive flaws which allowed him to lose the fight, or make it close enough that the other opponent could be thought of to win the fight. And that's the important point. Again, I will discriminate between the best ever and the greatest of all time. The greatest and the best ever. When Floyd talks about the best ever, for instance, he talks about Muhammad Ali, which is this guy's second pick. Truly the greatest in how he transcended boxing and became the most recognizable face on the planet, the best heavyweight I have seen live. And this guy just basically summarized what the greatest ever is. The greatest ever has to do with recognizability, popularity, and the fact that you're an icon. People remember you. But the best ever has to do with boxing, the sweet science of boxing, hitting and not getting hit. And Ali, in his rope-a-dope against George Foreman, which is showing right here, showed that he could get hit. And in fact, he went in a downhill slope after that. And that's what probably caused his disease. He got his jaw broken by Ed Norton. He was continuously hit with left hooks by Joe Frazier. These are flaws in his defense and flaws in his logic of how to proceed in a boxing match. In the sweet science of boxing, it's about hitting and not getting hit. Floyd Mayweather has the highest hitting and not getting hit ratio. That's why he says he's the best ever. It's all based on facts. It's not based on opinions like this guy. He has opinions. And most of these columns are opinionated. What the fans think of Floyd Mayweather doesn't have anything to do with him being the best boxer ever. The sweet science of boxing, Mayweather is the best at that. That's why he points out the flaws in Muhammad Ali, he points out the flaws in Sugar Ray Robinson, and why he's a better boxer than they are. So I won't go into any more of this guy's top 10 because it's mostly opinionated. Floyd Mayweather's TBE claim rankles many, but count him among boxing's historic greats. This is by David Mayo. I think I've done this article before. Floyd Mayweather calls himself the best ever, and critics of his boxing style ridicule him for it. They say he's mad for saying that. All they lack is concrete evidence to refute it, and that's my point. A lot of people talk about punching power. They talk about, oh, Sugar Ray Robinson will get you out of there. He had a killer instinct. That has nothing to do with the sweet science of boxing, though. See, the sweet science of boxing has to do with the fact that Sugar Ray Robinson got hit. Did he make necessary adjustments for the flaws in his style or the holes that opponents saw in his defense? Did he make necessary adjustments to how he approached a fight so that certain fights which he lost, he could overcome, not only win, but also win against fights similar in nature to those? It seems as though Sugar Ray Robinson never really quite learned certain things, and so did Muhammad Ali. I showed you that in a video before. Here, David Mayo points out that the critics of Floyd Mayweather don't really have facts to back up their points that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is not the best ever. However, some people who are not, who are critics of Floyd Mayweather Jr., they go on to say certain things such as, the greatest fighters stretch themselves by either seeking out the most dangerous opponents in their prime or moving up the divisions to cement their legacy. Robinson, Ali, and Sugar Ray Leonard were great, but not because they beat former champions such as Archie Moore and Henry Armstrong on the side, but because they never shied away from potential rivals. By the time he was 25, Leonard had fought Roberto Duran twice, Tommy Hearns, and Wilfredo Benitez. Later, he won titles from welterweight to light heavyweight, and for good measure beat Marvin Hagler in the fight for the ages. Now, that may be so, but who's to say that Marvin Hagler was in his prime? Why would you say that? Because he was undefeated as a world champion? Is that why he was in his prime? Because if that's the case, and you say he fought Roberto Duran twice, was Duran in his prime as well when Leonard fought Duran? How about Thomas Hearns? Thomas Hearns was in his prime, right? I want to show you something. This is Floyd Mayweather Jr. You tell me. Diego Corrales. Was Diego Corrales in his prime or not when Floyd Mayweather beat him? Let's look at Diego Corrales' record, shall we? Diego Corrales. When he faced Floyd Mayweather, he was undefeated. He was world champion. He had beaten Robert Garcia, who was a good fighter, to become the IBF World Super Featherweight Champion. He knocked him out in, I think, the 5th round. Beat John Brown, then beat Derek Gainer. For those people who don't know, Derek Gainer was a world champion, and Diego Corrales beat him. I don't think he was world champion at the time, he was just a contender. But Diego Corrales beat him. I think Derek Gainer was a featherweight world champion. I think he even got the super featherweight world championship. I think he was 2-time world champion. Derek Gainer used to train alongside Roy Jones Jr. He was seen as the next best thing until Marquez beat him. But the point anyway is, Derek Gainer was beaten, knocked out by Diego Corrales. Then he beat a bum in Justin Juku, and then he knocked out Angel Manfredi, who was a very, very good fighter, top contender. Then he faced Floyd Mayweather Jr. Now, after losing to Floyd Mayweather Jr., Diego Corrales would become the super featherweight champion again against Joel Casamayor, who was a very difficult and world champion multiple times. He beat Joel Casamayor, knocked out Acelino Freitas at lightweight to win the WBO lightweight title, and then beat Jose Luis Castillo, one of the top 25 lightweights of all time. Now, even though Diego Corrales' life ended rather abruptly and very quickly in his career, that alone shows how great this guy was. Okay? Like Salvador Sanchez, his career was kind of short. But he had already beaten some legendary fighters of his day, and great world champions, and good world champions as well. So, Mayweather was the first guy to beat this guy in his prime. Let's not forget that. Let's go on. Jose Luis Castillo. Jose Luis Castillo was the lightweight world champion. He had beaten a very skilled boxer, southpaw, All right, he defeated him in Stevie Johnson. For those who know, Stevie Johnson was the number 2 lightweight in the world aside from Shane Mosley. And Johnson wanted to fight Mosley, but it never happened. He beat Stevie Johnson, then he came back in the rematch and they drew. He then beat Cesar Bazan, who was a guy that beat Stevie Johnson, okay, and was a world champion as well. Then he went on to face Floyd Mayweather a couple fights after fighting a couple bumps, right? And he was defeated by Floyd Mayweather in a very competitive match. He would lose to Floyd Mayweather in the rematch, but after that he would go on to retain the WBC World Lightweight title, defeating Juan Lascanzo, who was another big name at the time. And then he defeated Joel Casamayor to retain the title, Julio Diaz, who was the IBF Lightweight champion, and then he faced Diego Corrales, and it's Diego Corrales who knocked him out. He would get a rematch with Diego Corrales and knock out Diego Corrales. Jose Luis Castillo is considered one of the top 25 lightweights of all time. Okay? So don't tell me Jose Luis Castillo wasn't a great fighter. He wasn't just a good fighter. He was a great fighter. Great lightweight. Let's put it that way. Okay, so Floyd Mayweather Jr. fought him in his prime. Oscar De La Hoya was not fought in his prime, so I will not go there. Even though he had a good win, I would give them that. Ricky Hatton. Floyd Mayweather Jr. fought Ricky Hatton. Undefeated Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton had faced all kinds of names here. Alright, from Ben Tacky to Vince Phillips, who had beaten Costa Tszyu. He was able to beat Vince Phillips, Ben Tacky. But then he faced Costa Tszyu in 2005 for the IBF World Super Lightweight Championship and retired him. Costa Tszyu had never been retired before. He retired Costa Tszyu to give him his second loss of his career. Alright? Ricky Hatton then went on to move up to welterweight after his first defense. He fought Louis Collazo, who was the WBA welterweight champion, and defeated him. Yeah, Collazo almost knocked him out in the final round, but he defeated him. He would go on to face Jose Luis Castillo, knock him out. Jose Luis Castillo was a pretty old guy at the time. And then he faced Floyd Mayweather Jr. in a very thrilling fight in which he got knocked out. He would face Juan Lascanzo, and Juan Lascanzo, remember, was a name in the lightweight division. He moved up to super lightweight, and he got the win over him. He also defeated Paulie Malignaggi, and then he went on to face Manny Pacquiao, where he was knocked out. Basically, his career came to an end. Manny Pacquiao ended his career. Senchenko was just the icing on the cake. But I think Floyd broke Hatton. He broke Hatton. When you have an undefeated fighter with high confidence, I think Mayweather in that hard-fought fight, and Hatton always says it, oh, he's very good on the inside. He's a very, very good inside fighter. You hear him say that. He says, really, really good. Ricky Hatton, I think, was destroyed by Floyd Mayweather, unfortunately for him. But you can't say that Ricky Hatton wasn't a good fighter. He's one of England's great fighters. Okay? Yeah, Floyd destroyed him, the Hitman Hatton. But he had a win over a legendary fighter in Costa Tszyu. Actually, a great fighter in Jose Luis Castillo, even though he's past his prime. A good fighter in Luis Collazo, who, by the way, became world champion again after Ricky Hatton had beaten him. And a legend in Costa Tszyu, even though Costa Tszyu, that was Costa Tszyu's last fight, actually. Okay? He also beat the guy who beat Costa Tszyu, and Vince Phillips, who was a former world champion. So, at the end of the day, you can't say that Ricky Hatton wasn't not only a good fighter, but a great fighter. You have to acknowledge that. Even though he plummeted after the loss to Floyd Mayweather. That was in his prime. Shane Mosley was not in his prime. Fair enough. But Shane Mosley, once again, had performed quite well against Antonio Margarito. Maybe it was his last hurrah, maybe not. We can speculate. What we do know is Shane Mosley rocked Floyd Mayweather in the second round. Then after that, Mayweather took over the fight and gave Mosley a big, bad beating. He beat him up. He beat him up real bad. And after that, Mosley never was the same. He never really could win fights in a spectacular fashion or anything like that. Right? Miguel Cotto. Now, it's kind of ridiculous to hear what people say about Miguel Cotto, because when Mayweather fought Miguel Cotto and beat him, Miguel Cotto was the super welterweight champion of the world. Okay? Floyd beat him at a comfortable weight. He did suffer effects from that loss because Austin Trout came back and beat him. But after that, he He beat Delvin Rodriguez, and then he went and fought Sergio Martinez, became the world middleweight champion of the world, beat Daniel Gill, and then he lost to Canelo Alvarez. All right, he's a fantastic fighter. He's not this is the guy that beat Austin Trout. Okay, for crying out loud. So, and Austin Trout was an undefeated fighter, and he was also very good when he was undefeated. So, to say that Miguel Cotto was washed up or at the end of his game, no, Miguel Cotto was not washed up, because if you're washed up, you wouldn't become middleweight champion of the world. I don't care what you say. All right, so Miguel Cotto proved that he was good, and I think he's going to fight James Kirkland next. That's what I heard, because Miguel Cotto is really a 154 pounder. Last guy, Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, people said that Saul Canelo Alvarez, when he faced Floyd Mayweather, he was not in his prime. You can't be, I'm sorry, you just can't not be 44 fights into your fight game and not in your prime. Or you're green or something. That's not possible. And here's the people that Canelo Alvarez faced. He faced Austin Trout. Okay, he faced Shane Mosley. Okay, he faced former world champion Kermit Cintron. All right, he faced Carlos Baldomir. Okay, you're not green when you face those fighters. Okay, Baldomir was past his prime, absolutely. Okay, he fought a young Matthew Hatton. Okay, he fought old Alfonso Gomez. He fought old Kermit Cintron. He fought old Mosley. Then he fought a young Josecito Lopez, and he fought an undefeated Austin Trout, who was slick and supposedly southpaw. He was supposed to give Canelo all kinds of problems, and Canelo dropped him before he faced Floyd Mayweather. Now, after facing Floyd Mayweather, he faced Eris Landy Lara, beat him by split decision. Okay, so the experience with Mayweather really did help. All right, and then he faced Miguel Cotto, where it was a very nicely contested fight. He won that fight, and now, not only has he picked up the middleweight title, but he just beat Liam Smith to get the WBO super welterweight title. Okay, he knocked him out. Okay, so to say that Canelo Alvarez was green or he wasn't in his prime, it's just to make excuses, man. To make excuses, right? Canelo Alvarez was supposed to be the bigger, stronger guy, and he was supposed to beat Floyd Mayweather Jr., and Floyd just showed him he was not in his class. That's just what it is. Manny Pacquiao. A lot of people said it was 5 years too late. Manny Pacquiao said it wasn't 5 years too late. Floyd Mayweather said it was not 5 years too late. Bob Arum said it was not 5 years too late. Which do we believe? Let's see. If Manny Pacquiao was washed up, if Manny Pacquiao was not like how he was in his prime, supposedly in his prime, all right, that everything was lost and everything was gone, he was a beaten down fighter, why is it he beat Timothy Bradley better and worse than he ever beat Timothy Bradley before, knocking him down twice? Why is it he beat Jesse Vargas, a guy that's probably half his age? Okay, he beats Jesse Vargas like if he's a joke. He knocks him down. Before he faces Floyd Mayweather Jr., he knocks down Chris Algieri 6 times officially. All right, he beats Timothy Bradley. If Manny Pacquiao was washed up, if Manny Pacquiao couldn't produce the goods against Floyd Mayweather Jr. like you guys tried to say and claim and lie and say he was injured and all of these foolishness because he lost. He wasn't saying that before the fight. All right, his behavior wasn't like that after the fight. If you want to imbibe in those lies and all the lies building up to Mayweather Pacquiao, where they were saying Mayweather's trying to duck Pacquiao, which is not true at all. Okay, Pacquiao turned down the offers in the first fight because of drug testing, which he still had to take when he had to fight Mayweather in 2015. So if Floyd was ducking Pacquiao, why did he make the fight to start with? Second of all, why is it that Pacquiao's taking these drug tests that he turned down since in 2010? Right? Now, I already know if Mayweather had fought Pacquiao in 2010, he'd have destroyed Pacquiao's career. And Bob Arum would not have a cash cow anymore. Now, Bob Arum has Terrence Crawford, okay, to ride on. So, Bob Arum didn't want Pacquiao to fight Mayweather, period. Okay? He backed out of that because he realized Pacquiao's, one great asset was going to be if Pacquiao could go through the fight with the usual routines, not being drug tested. Right? We all saw what happened when Mayweather fought Pacquiao. Okay, we saw it. And people are saying it didn't matter if it was 4 years ago, it didn't matter if it was 5 years ago, it didn't matter if it was yesterday. Mayweather would beat Pacquiao. And if they have a rematch, Mayweather would beat Pacquiao again. And if they have another rematch, Mayweather would beat Pacquiao again. Because boxers like Mayweather, they build up data on you in the fight, and they make their adjustments, and it's over. And Mayweather from the get-go, from the first second of the round, he took control of the fight. He didn't even give Pacquiao a chance. Alright? But for you guys to say Manny Pacquiao, he's blown out, it's 5 years too late. That's sour grapes, man. We all know that's sour grapes. Let's keep it moving. So at the end of the day, all of these articles here that are salty about Mayweather and Pacquiao, I'm talking about Leonard took chances and they went up divisions. Let's look at Mayweather. Mayweather started out at super featherweight, then moved up to lightweight, then he moved up to super lightweight, and all the time beating the very best. Well, he couldn't get Costa Zoo. That's why he wanted to get Hatton, I'm pretty sure, and he finally got Hatton. He went up to welterweight and again fought the very best, and that's why he fought Hatton, to get the best at super welterweight. But he fought him at welterweight. I don't know why that. He then went on to fight at super welterweight a number of times against Oscar De La Hoya, Alvarez, and Cotto. Alright? And he never was able to make the maximum super welterweight limit. He was able to do that for welterweight, he was able to do that for super lightweight, he was able to do that for lightweight, he was able to do that for super featherweight. He was not able to do that for super welterweight because everybody knows, and I explained it already, Mayweather, Pacquiao, and Marquez are the same size. So if you start to bawl and scream, oh, Pacquiao, he can't fight Canelo Alvarez, he's too big. Well, if you're saying that, then why the hell should Floyd fight Canelo Alvarez? Floyd, Pacquiao, and Marquez are the same weight. Floyd can't make 151 pounds. Okay? And we're not talking about non-fighting weight. Whether he's 155 non-fighting is another story. We're talking about fighting weight. Okay? So, like my boy James Toney said, anybody from 140 to 154 can get it. Alright? They can get it from Floyd. Not any higher. And Floyd knew his limits. Because Floyd sparred all kinds of people. He knew his limits, and he knew that middleweight, he can't make middleweight. If he could make middleweight, then it would have been cool. He can't make middleweight. Okay? So, Cotto's a bigger dude than Floyd. You know, Cotto's like, Cotto's the same size as, say, Sugar Ray Leonard, who's a super welterweight, I think. Super welterweight. Well, Sugar Ray Leonard got much bigger, and he actually was, his peak out was at super middleweight, right? He can make light heavyweight. So, my point anyway is that Mayweather has done it 3 times. Sugar Ray Leonard has done it once. He reached his peak weight and fought a light heavyweight at a catch weight, by the way, which everybody excuses. It was formed a new division, and he still got the light heavyweight title. Alright? At a catch weight, this guy wants to quote Sugar Ray Leonard. You know, some of the stupidest things you hear. Never talk about the catch weight. Floyd Mayweather actually went full super welterweight. Fought Cotto and Oscar at full super welterweight. Canelo's the only one at a catchweight, but he gets blamed for fighting Canelo at a catchweight. But Leonard gets off the hook for fighting at a light heavyweight champion, Donnie Lalonde, at super middleweight, which is a made-up division, 168 pounds. He gets away with that? Come on. And Canelo volunteered to come down in weight. Okay, Canelo wanted it at 150. And then he turned around and said, no, it is too much. Right? My point being, they talk about Leonard fought Roberto Duran twice when he was 25, Tommy Hearns and Wilfredo Benitez. Well, Mayweather, when he was 25, had fought Jose Luis Castillo, Diego Corrales. Alright? Who else did he fight at 25? It was Diego Corrales, Jose Luis Castillo, Angel Manfredi, who was also in his prime. Okay, he wasn't a great fighter. I get it, right? Diego Corrales was a great fighter. Jose Luis Castillo was a great fighter, right? But at the age of 25, that's who he fought. Okay, because that's what was available. All right. Now people like to say, oh, he should have fought Paul Spadafora. He should have fought uh, Julio Diaz, Juan Lascanzo. Well, he tried to get those fights. At super featherweight, he wanted to fight Casimir. He wanted to fight Acelino Freitas. They didn't want to fight him. Literally, they didn't want to fight him. You can't do nothing if your opponents don't want to fight you, right? He wanted to fight Shane Mosley, and Shane Mosley moved up to welterweight, right? They were supposed to fight at lightweight when Floyd came up to lightweight. Mosley left lightweight and moved all the way up to welterweight. Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd was calling out Oscar De La Hoya when he was a super lightweight, and Mosley, right? They didn't want to fight him, and the reason they didn't want to fight him is because he wasn't ranked high at welterweight to start with. He was a super lightweight, and two, he wouldn't bring in the money they wanted. They wanted money fights. Okay? Can't blame him for that. So the people who say Floyd was ducking Margarito. Who? Margarito was, I believe, he wasn't the top welterweight at the time. It was Carlos Baldomir. Besides that, Baldomir had the same style as Antonio Margarito. He was a come forward fighter with a lot more skill. And then Floyd fought Oscar, who was a much better fighter than Margarito and bigger than Margarito. Then he fought also Genera Hernandez. He fought Diego Corrales. These were all much better fighters than Margarito and bigger fighters than Margarito compared to Floyd, and stronger and harder punches than Margarito. Same thing they did, work the body, go to the head. How was Margarito the android fighter? What, Margarito was going to be so tough that Floyd, every time he punched him, his punches wouldn't hurt him and he would just keep coming forward? So what? Floyd did that with Jesus Chavez, Carlos Hernandez. How many androids do you need to have? Brandon Rios versus Floyd Mayweather. Do you think of that as a competitive fight? Of course not. Timothy Bradley knocked out Brandon Rios, right? So if it's not competitive, why would you want to go see it? Oh, because Margarito, he keeps coming forward. No, the reason was because it was a Bob Arum fighter, and Bob Arum wanted his fighters to fight Floyd. He wanted Margarito to make some money. That was what that was all about. He didn't care about the rankings. He didn't care that Carlos Baldomir was lineal champion that hadn't lost for 7 years. Margarito just lost. Okay? So, and right after Floyd fought Carlos Baldomir, right after that, Margarito lost to Paul Williams. Then everybody's like, Paul Williams should fight Floyd. How? Why? Why wouldn't he fight Oscar? He'd fight Paul Williams over Oscar De La Hoya? Come on, are you serious? Then after he fights Oscar De La Hoya, they're saying Paul Williams. Then Paul Williams comes and loses the fight afterwards to Kermit Cintron, of all people. Right? Then he moves up in weight. These guys are calling out Floyd Mayweather without paying their dues. 1, 2. They're not the best possible opponent. So to hear people say Floyd Mayweather Jr. ducked, Paul Williams. Okay, then Sugar Ray Leonard ducked Mike McCallum. Sugar Ray Leonard ducked Aaron Pryor. Based on your logic, we can call a lot of fighters that Sugar Ray Leonard didn't fight. Okay? But they weren't ranked as highly except for Mike McCallum. Hagler ducked Mike McCallum because he was his mandatory. Thomas Hearns ducked Mike McCallum and Roberto Duran ducked Mike McCallum. But really and truly, they didn't really duck him because I think Thomas Hearns fought Marvin Hagler or something like that. And I think Duran went on and fight Hagler as well, where Mike McCallum was the mandatory. So you can't really say they ducked Mike McCallum. You just didn't get the pay he was looking for, right? Leonard never offered to fight Aaron Pryor, and even though they were trying to make out a deal, Leonard supposedly hurt his eye, and that was that. Okay, he didn't come back till many years after. We have Mike McCallum was there. Mike McCallum had beat Donald Curry. And Leonard was there narrating. Leonard saw it. Leonard wanted no piece of Mike McCallum. It's just what it is. All right? Now, does that mean that they ducked Mike McCallum? No. All right? But we would have really had a lot more in the mix if we had Mike McCallum there. All right? So you can't say that Floyd ducked. You can't say he ducked Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez was the mandatory to Oscar De La Hoya, but Floyd let go of that, and he went back down. Floyd's not a super welterweight, really. He don't really campaign at super welterweight. If you look, he maxed out. He campaigned at welterweight for most of his career. He just went up like Pernell Whitaker did, do his thing, show how good he was, and come back down. All right? You didn't see Sugar Ray Robinson campaigning at light heavyweight, did you? He was unsuccessful anyway. So the point is, you can't be Floyd obviously tested his limits. He reached the peak weight he could possibly be. All right, Sugar Ray Leonard did it. Sugar Ray Robinson did it. So there's this dummy here who did this article here. I call him a dummy because he's stupid. He doesn't realize Floyd did that. Floyd came up 5 divisions, and complete 5 divisions. Sugar Ray Leonard went up 4.5 divisions. He got credited with a 5th, where he should not have gotten credited because it was a catch weight. Yeah, okay, the catch weight, but it was called super middleweight. The catch weight was called a division, so you can't give him credit for another division above. You can say he beat a light heavyweight champion at super middleweight. Sugar Ray Leonard is a 4-divisional world champion. Thomas Hearns is a 5-divisional world champion. Thomas Hearns is. Alright? So, when people talk about all these things, I laugh. I laugh. You know, I give Leonard beat Marvin Hagler, or he fought Marvin Hagler at least. I give him credit for that. Right? But that's just his 3rd division. His 4th one was against Donnie Lalonde. Alright? I give him credit for the Donnie Lalonde fight, but it wasn't 5 divisions he went up. He went up 4. If you're being honest. Right? Mayweather went up 5. He did more divisions than those guys. And he beat the top guys in those divisions. Okay? So you can't say anything about Floyd Mayweather at the end of the day. So these excuses that these guys in these articles make, they're just what they are. Excuses, man. Right? So Sean Engel, you just sour. And your eye looks sour. You just look like one sourpuss, man. Alright? The best ever. Yeah, so I'm just saying that at the end of the day, these guys don't have facts to back up what they're saying. But when it comes to Mayweather and TBE, there are facts to back up what Mayweather's done. These guys can't give me facts. They can't. They try to say he didn't fight this fighter or this and I say, okay, were they mandatory fighters? Were they guys high up on top? Were they top fighters? No, they weren't. When Pacquiao wasn't fighting Shane Mosley, Floyd fought Shane Mosley. And Freddie Roach was saying they didn't want to fight Mosley because he was too strong, too big. And they'd have to let him lose some weight. He'd have to do a catch weight. And Mosley was not having that. Alright? Floyd fought Mosley at his comfortable weight, and Mosley still lost the fight. He lost it. Pacquiao comes off and feasts off of Mosley after the fact. You guys say Mayweather was old. Then Pacquiao came after the fact to beat Oscar De La Hoya, sorry, at a drained down weight. Oscar came in 145 pounds, not even 147, 145 pounds. He couldn't even rehydrate himself properly. Alright? Not to mention how he drained so many other fighters, from Cotto to Eric Morales. You know, just nonsense, man. I give you, with Diego Corrales Floyd, they forced him to have to lose the weight. But at the end of the day, other than that, you can't tell me that Floyd drained anybody else. Pacquiao made it a habit of draining fighters, man. A habit. But anyway, we're not talking about Pacquiao. We're talking about Floyd, TBE, right? So at the end of the day, if you're going to go there and you're going to be a detractor and you're going to be a hater, bring some facts, man. Alright? He didn't duck Miguel Cotto. They didn't want Miguel Cotto to fight Floyd. Otherwise, he'd have fought Floyd. Cotto had to leave Top Rank to fight Floyd. Okay? And he did it. And he fought him. He lost. But it was a good competitive fight. It was a much more competitive fight than many Mayweather fights. Okay? I wouldn't mind seeing Floyd fight Cotto again. So, I'm just saying, if you're going to talk about, and Cotto did some good work on Floyd. He landed some authentically good punches on Floyd. It was solid. He's a solid fighter. Alright? But at the end of the day, all of this chatter, all of this talk, all of this stuff by the ring, by all of these news outlets after Mayweather had beaten Pacquiao, was because they were sour that Mayweather had beaten a fighter that they really thought would beat him. They thought this was the guy he was running from, ducking, hiding from. But in fact, Mayweather beat him real easy. Real easy. So easy, he was beating Pacquiao that people started making excuses how he was injured. Except, I don't care how much injured you are, you should be able to get the W. You should find a way to win. Mayweather was injured with a hand, and he still beat Castillo. Okay? He switched it up. He went southpaw and he started fighting Castillo. When he had to fight in the trenches, he fought in the trenches. Did what he needed to do to pull out the win with a bad shoulder. So telling me you had a bad shoulder don't mean jack. Because Floyd had bad shoulders and he still pulled out the win. And the injuries that Pacquiao had, it wasn't hurting him like how it was hurt Floyd in the Castillo fight if he had an injury. I don't think he had any injury. I just think he wanted to save face because Floyd embarrassed him. When he started just hitting him in the face at will in the 11th round and then mocking him by beating his gloves together, Pacquiao was angry. That's why he said all he did was run. He didn't do nothing. Actually, he was just projecting what happened with him. He didn't do nothing. Pacquiao didn't do nothing. So this is my 10th round of Floyd Mayweather TBE. 12th round, sorry. This is the final round. We only drop facts on you guys. We debunk nonsense. And obviously Floyd is the best ever boxer. He won't stay that way. He won't stay that way, obviously. They're going to be better boxers coming along, which will surpass what he does. And they're going to use Floyd Mayweather as a tool, as I said before, to put down those boxers and their accomplishments, especially if they're very vocal about their accomplishments, right? But at the end of the day, we know, who know boxing know, not only is Floyd Mayweather the best ever, but what he's accomplished in facts, not only on paper but also in his fights, show the dedication this guy had to boxing, how he never underestimated any fighter, his will to win, his smarts in the ring and outside of the ring in terms of boxing and making money in boxing, the incredible team that supported him to make him be able to do the things he did, his gifting, his skills, his schooling, the fact that he listened to those who knew that he was a student of the craft of boxing and the sweet science of hitting and not getting hit. I'm happy to see that Bernard Hopkins is going to be 52 next year. Bernard Hopkins is facing Joe Smith Jr. And why, to me, this is a wonderful thing is because I'm rooting for Hopkins to show people once again, defy the odds. He's a black man, so he's not going to get that credit. Floyd's a black man. If Floyd was a white guy, you wouldn't be hearing the end of the praises, right? Carl Frampton gets a lot of praise. Lomachenko gets a lot of praise, and Lomachenko hasn't done much in boxing yet. He hasn't beaten a really, really significant opponent yet. Guillermo Mariga now goes and beats an extremely significant opponent, and he gets berated, ostracized, and isolated for it. Because black fighters have been treated that way through the ages. And sexism, racism, and the desire to divide races of people is still there in boxing. It's ugly. It's disgusting. Alright? Just because a guy's outspoken, you may not like his persona that he portrays to the public. Like Muhammad Ali, I was watching a video on Muhammad Ali, and Ali said, yeah, y'all want to see this nigga lose, don't you? You want to see him get knocked out. That's why you guys came. He said, I'm a performer. I'm an actor. It was all an act to get you guys to come see my fights. Right? And I believe Floyd Mayweather also pulled that on people because I don't think he's that kind of persona that you see in the media, but he does it just to provoke people. Now, you know what's sad? Guys like Doug Fisher, who work for Golden Boy, and actually Doug Fisher was the guy that introduced the fighters for Hopkins versus Joe Smith. Doug Fisher is all eyes. He's basically an antagonist, a critic of Floyd Mayweather. And he tries to hate on Floyd Mayweather. I remember when Floyd Mayweather fought Manny Pacquiao and beat him, I heard Sugar Ray Leonard and all these other guys talking about how he's not the best ever and Floyd Mayweather can't do anything, it was a stinker, blah, blah. But they know in their hearts how good he is. And if Sugar Ray Leonard was to really admit it, he would say, oh yeah, Floyd Mayweather would whoop his ass. He knows that. And how do we know that? That's very simple. Terry Norris whooped his ass. Different era, right? Pay attention to how Terry Norris fights. very much like Floyd Mayweather. Okay? And Sugar Ray Leonard's style, you was subtle and stuff. His era is over. And Leonard knows this. He knows if he was to come face to face with the young Floyd Mayweather would tear his ass up. Because he knows Terry Norris did it. Terry Norris ran the route on Sugar Ray Leonard. And Leonard did get his time where he threw his shots and stuff. You could see the old Leonard there. But at the end of the day, fighters like Terry Norris and Floyd Mayweather were the new breed. A new style of boxing added to the older style. See what I'm saying? And Floyd incorporates things from the older style. I showed you comparisons between Terry Norris and Floyd, where they go to the side of the body of the fighter and attack him from an angle. You know, Leonard did the same thing, but in a different kind of way. Leonard's of the old school where you have to do extra swiveling and extra upper body movement. Floyd and Terry Norris, they came from a style of fighting where it's inbuilt. You have inbuilt defense. See, when I talk about different eras, I know what the hell I'm saying. I know what I'm talking about. So when I hear people say, oh, the check hook came from long before. Yeah, the check hook did come from long before. But Floyd Mayweather put the check hook together with the snapback and the pivot on the twist. You see what I'm saying? Or he may come forward and hit you with a check hook instead. Because there's many different ways to throw a check hook. And what happens with evolution is people add different things to a check hook. Floyd shortened up his check hook. His check hook is not as long as other check hooks. His leaping left hooks are not as long. Floyd's very short chopping punches. Right? Whereas when you look at guys like James Toney, he loop his punches. Big looping punches. Still shorten it up, but it's still big looping punches. Floyd give you short chopping punches. See what I'm saying? Roy Jones Jr. give you big looping punches. Sugar Ray Robinson give you big looping punches. See what I'm saying? Different eras. Now when you talk about in Sugar Ray Robinson's era, obviously Sugar Ray Robinson was the most dominant dude. You fast track Sugar Ray Robinson to this time, and you guys like to give the George Foreman analogy, where he beat Michael Moore. That was Michael Moore's fault, though. His corner was telling him to take care and watch out for this guy. Michael Moore decided, I don't care. It was his fault. Otherwise, he'd have whooped George Foreman's ass just like Holyfield and just like everybody. And he'd have actually whooped his ass easier. Right? But Michael Moore, he didn't listen to his corner. He went out there and he decided he was going to trade. So that's what happened to him. He got knocked out. It wasn't because George Foreman from a bygone era dominated the people of his era. No, he got his ass whooped by Holyfield. He got his ass whooped by the kid from Rocky. Right? The movie Rocky. A lot of people whooped Foreman's ass. But it just so happened that Michael Moore, the world champion, Foreman worked his way up. Michael Moore, the world champion, you know, it was his fault. He said, you get lucky, Foreman. You got lucky. No, there was no luck in that. He took the bait and Foreman outsmarted him. Where his corner was telling him, box smart. Didn't listen to his corner. That's why he lost. Right? So, at the end of the day, that was on Foreman. Victor Ortiz. I mean, Floyd was whooping his ass. But Victor Ortiz, it was his fault that he wanted to apologize and not protect himself at all times. That was his fault. Can't blame Floyd. Oh, Floyd, you cheap shot. No. You can't blame Floyd for that. That's Victor Ortiz's fault. See, you guys don't understand boxing. Y'all don't know boxing. When Roberto Duran hit Sugar Ray Leonard on the break, immediately after the break, that was Sugar Ray Leonard's fault. Protect yourself at all times. What do you think this is? You think this is some kind of gentleman's club where we shake hands and then we gear up to box? It's a fight. Anything can happen in a fight. Protect yourself at all times. Guy can hit you and he can kill you. What you gonna do then? Oh, he was wrong from your grave? Come on now. You gotta protect yourself at all times. It's a boxing match. It's a fight. So at the end of the day, people don't come to hug and kiss and corral one another. It's a fight. It's called a fight game. You got to be alert at all times because you never know when your life could go. All right? And then it wouldn't be about, oh, the guy cheap shot me. I was wrong. He was wrong. You're dead. You guys have a great one.